Good morning. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm excited to be here today to share more about my Notion template video content management system. It's a system that I've been using for a few weeks now, and it's really been helping me to become more consistent with video production and also just organizing my ideas and prioritizing them and figuring out which videos am I actually going to work on producing at any given moment. So I've started off sharing the screen. I hope that's okay. It's a little easier this way. And my plan is that I'm going to go through everything in terms of the complete walkthrough and then be glad to answer any questions or comments at the end. And there is a bit of latency to the feed. That was one of the lessons learned from my first test live the other day, was that you get better video quality if there's a bit of latency. So I might not see any comments right away, but as I said, I will come back to any of those at the end. And then I just wanted to mention too that some of the links and some of the tools I'm going to talk about today, I am an affiliate with those tools and companies. So if you bought anything through one of the links that I've listed in the description or shared, I might receive a small commission for that. So just mention that at the top, and then I'm going to also go over tips, tools, and resources that I use throughout the content creation process and that I found helpful for me, and I hope you'll find them helpful as well. So let's dive in then, and we'll start talking about ideas. And I'm sharing here the short form videos in progress. This is what the template looks like, and some of the ideas that I'm working on right now. And actually, most of my ideas don't start in the template. They start in a notebook that I have that I keep with me. And I write down ideas as soon as they come to me throughout the day. And I find that that's actually one of the best ways to collect ideas for YouTube, is to pay attention to things that are happening as a creator. So for example, I'm doing this live, and I'll probably do a piece of content at some point about tips that I learned from doing my first live. So things like that. And that makes the content creation process a lot easier because you're talking about what you're actually working on, as opposed to like working on stuff and then trying to come up with ideas separate from that. So that's one thing. The other thing I try to do is I'm coming up with ideas or writing them down in the big list within the book, is I try not to be too judgmental yet about what's the quality of the idea. I look at it as more of a brainstorming process, that you want to just write down every idea, not filter them out too quickly, because sometimes we judge our own ideas too quickly, and then they'd actually be a good idea if we put some more thought or work into them. So I've probably collected over the first year of doing this about 200 different ideas. And the first filter is, what do I take from my big list in the notebook and actually put into the template? And so that's really the first filter, is what do I, and the first filter is, what ideas do I think are good enough from the book to put into the template? Which ones do I think initially has potential? And I would just write that down as a general idea. And then the second filter is the second column here, which I've called the vidIQ score. So vidIQ is a software tool you can use to judge the competitiveness of a YouTube idea, and it assigns it a score from 1 to 100. I've removed the scores here because I don't want to share their data, but you can sign up with it. They do have a trial account, and the other tool people use is TubeBuddy, and it does a very similar thing. So I try to look for ideas that have a good competitiveness score. So the higher the score, the better that is. And what that means is that there's a high search, a high search volume and low competition, and that'll give it a high score. So that's kind of the first filter, because you want to look at ideas that have the greatest potential to reach an audience, and competitiveness score is one of the factors in that. And the next couple of columns are really the next filter that I would have for ideas, which is the title and the hook. And if I can come up with a good title and a good hook for a video, then I think, again, that's a video that has potential. If I've got an idea and I can't really craft a good title yet, or I don't know what the hook will be in terms of, what am I going to say in the first 3 seconds of the video to capture attention, then I'd say that idea isn't ready for production yet. And so I'd set it aside. So I think this is a really good additional filter to use for your YouTube ideas. And there's some tools you can use too to help you come up with better titles if you find that you're struggling with that. So one of them is vidIQ again. It does title suggestions, but another one that I like is Creator Hooks. And Creator Hooks is a weekly newsletter. You can sign up for free, and they email the creator there emails title ideas, title formulas that you can use to adapt for your own titles. And they're titles based on things that are currently working on YouTube. So I think it's a really great resource. And another thing that people do sometimes is they'll use an AI software like ChatGPT or WriteSonic to suggest variations of a title. And then you can adapt that and use which one you think is going to work the best. And I also suggest, of course, just looking at YouTube and seeing which kind of title formulas are doing well. And then so once you've got the title, coming up with the hook. Now your hook for your videos, I think you want it to be similar to your title, but not exactly the same. So you don't want to have, for example, a thumbnail that says create YouTube community posts, title that says that, and you say that in your hook because it's too repetitive. So think of these as 3 opportunities to engage your viewer. So with the title, you could have something like create YouTube community post image polls the easy way with Canva. And so that gives a lot of information about what the video is about, but it's also kind of attracting their attention because you're talking about the easy way. And then in the hook, you say something slightly different. You say, you've got to try this approach to streamline the creation of your image polls for YouTube community posts. So that's an example of like how to build from your title to your hook. And I find the template is helpful for this because you're going to start out with the general idea. You're going to find out which videos are most going to work in terms of the competitiveness score. And then you're going to go over and you'll have time to work on the titles and the hooks before you get to the filming, before you get to the production process. And you can, the more that you give yourself the opportunity to plan that out by having multiple ideas on the go at the same time, and time to reflect on it, time to incorporate ideas from all the different sources that we've talked about, the better your videos are going to be, because you have a chance to improve all of those elements more, rather than, let's say, if I think about the old way that I was producing videos before, I would try and do the whole thing from end to end. So I'd start out with my idea, I'd immediately come up with a title, I'd come up with the hook and the script right away, and then I'd film it. And there was like very little in between time for any of those things. And so this is why I think a tool like this could be really helpful, because you start thinking about all of those things ahead of time, and you give yourselves that time to reflect on what you're doing and continually improve it as you're going along. So one thing I didn't mention too much there was thumbnails, and I'll have to switch to the long form template. And I'll just mention that the system, it includes a template for long form videos in progress as well as short form videos. And I like to keep them separate because I think they're kind of different in the approach, and there's also some differences in what you need to think about. So for example, you don't need thumbnail ideas for your shorts because you don't typically add thumbnails for that. But here, again, thumbnail is something that would often be an afterthought, right? You've created the whole video, you've taken all this time to produce it, and now you're going to think about the thumbnail right at the end, just minutes before you post the video. It's probably not going to lead to the best quality thumbnail. And so, again, this is where this kind of template is helpful because you think about, okay, what's it going to be? A photo of me with a mic and a live button, or photo of your guest with a blogging graphic. Kind of conceptualize it, and you can go into more detail sometimes, like I did with this one with Matthew Hughes. Maybe I'll have a money symbol and simple text like "Make it rain" because he talks about YouTube monetization. So just different things you can think about ahead of time, again, to make your thumbnail as good as it can be by the time you post the video. And so I also have added a couple of categories here for both templates, which is video category and content pillar. And the reason for the video category, if I can show you the properties here, is just like what are the types of videos long form videos that I make. And you can certainly adapt these if you make other kinds of videos. For example, I might add a live button here now that I'm doing some lives, but podcast, a short long form or short vlog would be the category. And then I just keep track of that to give a check on, like, am I going overboard in any category, or am I missing out on an opportunity, and try and have some variety for the audience, right? So if you're unless your intent is to do all short long form, you can kind of slip into doing mostly that, and then you know, maybe forget about, oh yeah, keep the podcast going, or maybe I should do a longer video. This just kind of gives you a sense of where the effort's going, and you can also then look at the results. So if you've done a lot of short long form, for example, but they're not doing very well, and your podcast episodes are doing well, that gives you some information you can use to recalibrate what you're doing. And then content pillars, I recommend keeping these very simple, not more than 4 or 5, because your content pillars is a categorization of what are the common topics that you talk about. So if you have like 15 of those, people are going to come to your channel and they're not going to know what is this channel about, really. So try and keep it fairly tight so that, you know, when you attract a viewer who's interested in social media strategy, they're going to see, okay, there's a lot of videos about that and also related topics, and they'll be more likely to become a subscriber, or at least come back and watch other videos. Whereas if you have a lot of them, and I probably in this case have too many of them in my shorts example here, I've got quite a few pillars there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8 or so. So I might want to look at, you know, can I narrow that down a little bit and keep the topics consistent, because that's going to give you the best opportunity for being successful. So then we're almost at the point where we've figured out the title, the thumbnail, the hook, the idea, and and what category and pillar the video goes into. We're almost ready to go into scripting and production, which of course is the part of the process that takes the longest. So there's a few things that go with that. One is that I will apply one final filter to which ideas get produced. So I think about things like, okay, what's my motivation to make this video? Kind of reflect back on that, because if you're not excited about it as the creator, there's probably a lot less chance that your audience is going to be excited about it. I think about the time required to make it. Some videos you're going to be able to make quickly. Others, you know, are going to require more work. And so if you're trying to have a consistent video flow, you want to plan it out so that you're doing some quick ones and some longer ones that you're working on the background. And that is, again, where a tool like this is very helpful, because you get a sense of, like, okay, these are the ones I can produce quickly. I'll do a few of those and maybe bank them. And then I'm going to work on this other one that is going to take me longer. And, you know, so I'll kind of work on that over time in the background. And then again, thinking about what we're saying with audience expectations. What kind of topics align with the audience? What kind of video categories can I use to keep things fresh? So not just all tips, not just all tools. Kind of what what else could we post about technology, strategy, what have you? Keep things interesting for the audience. So then when we get the idea and we go into this longer period of these I guess harder tasks of scripting, filming, and editing the videos, again, I find the tool can be kind of helpful because you can look at things and say, well, I was able to do 50% of the script today. And these are tasks that often can't be done in one sitting. So I find it is helpful to just have a opportunity to say, like, okay, I've done this much, because otherwise what happens is you are working on a big project like a long form video over multiple sessions, but it feels like you're not getting anything done because it's like, well, I worked on the script, but I didn't complete the script today. This kind of gives you the opportunity to go in and at least check this box and say 50% is done now. And I don't know about yourself, but psychologically, I find this helpful. I find it a way to maintain motivation over long projects is to be able to at least show some progress. If it's only in your template, that's okay. But you know about it, and you know that the video is getting closer to completion. And actually, I think it helps to create the momentum to keep the project going. And so for scripting, we talked a little about hooks, but you need to think about the script as a whole too, to retain your viewers' attention. So scripting or the hook is the first part. The first few seconds. Did you deliver on the promise of the title? Now you've got the viewer's attention. How do you create a script that's compelling? And I think it's what you want to look at here are different storytelling techniques. And I put a link in the description to a link that'll go to like 27 copywriting formulas. And each of these copywriting formulas can be adapted to be used as a basis for your script, as a way to craft the outline. The other thing, of course, you can use are tools like Sonic or ChatGPT. I don't recommend creating a script from that and then just using that. I think that it's not going to be original enough. It's not going to be good enough, frankly, to to help your channel. And at some point, I think Google and YouTube are going to more heavily penalize what they detect as AI generated content. I think they'll have to, or otherwise the platform will just become flooded with it, and people won't be able to actually connect with people through this medium. So I think use it again as a source of inspiration. And in fact, what I like to do when I'm creating a script is use multiple sources of inspiration. So I use my experience as a writer. I might get some ideas in terms of the general outline from something like Sonic, and then I might also look at concepts and approaches that other YouTubers have used in their videos, and kind of all that goes in and gets mixed around. And the other part is to infuse it with your own experience. And that's another reason why I really like talking about stuff that I'm doing as a creator, is it almost helps the content write itself. You've got, if I go back to the live experience, you've got this experience of doing lives. You've learned things through doing that. And you can share that. And just how do you craft the story about it? Well, that's where you look for those other sources of inspirations to help you craft the story in a compelling way. And so as I go along, and I usually am able to write like maybe a quarter of the script at a time. And then over a few days, we'll get to the point where it's done. And so then we'll move on to filming. And filming is another part of the process that does take a long time. And it kind of gets back to that point about, carefully filtering what ideas are you actually working on? Are you investing that time in creating? because once it gets to the filming stage, you're really into it, and you want to kind of carry the project through to completion once it gets that far. And again, a good way to maintain that forward momentum is to check off a bit as you're going. And then in terms of tools that can help with filming, I use my iPhone, and I use the DJI Action Cam for most of the filming that I do. The DJI Action Cam is better for 16 by 9 filming. The challenge with it though is that it does tend to overheat if you're using it for more than 10-15 minutes at a stretch, which is why I got a new tool I'm going to be doing a video about soon, which is a camcorder. And the camcorder is a little better for filming for longer periods of time. The Action Cam is still good for portability and doing like point of view shots, because you can hang it around your neck, and it can show point of view, and then you could use something like the camcorder to do the locked off shots, just set up on a tripod or what have you, and record that way. And you can also use your phone. And then the last kind of tool that I'm working with now to help with filming is a teleprompter. And I'll say that it's harder to use than it looks. I thought using a teleprompter would be easy, but actually, by the time that it takes some time to set up, and it has to be really aligned pretty much perfectly, or it's going to look like you're reading from the teleprompter. And I think it's a skill to kind of like just check the words, look at them if you need to be reminded of stuff, but not actually read them, even though they're there scrolling right in front of you. So it does take a bit of practice. I'm not convinced yet if it's going to improve efficiency or not, but I'm going to keep working at it. But I think that all those other tools are good. And at the end of the day, like filming is something that does come down to practice and experience. You can watch a lot of videos about theory of filming, and those are helpful for thinking about like how do you set up different shots to create suspense or to create visual interest. But at the end of the day, you really have to go out there and film, and that's how you get better at it over time, because there's so many little things that you won't pick up through the theory. So you work through that, we get through the filming, and we come to editing. Again, something that I like to parse out, because it often can't be done in one sitting. Most of editing, especially if you're trying to add a lot to your videos in terms of effects, in terms of like improving the quality of the visual experience through transitions, through motion graphics, all that takes some time. I like to do it sequentially. I've tried it both ways, where I've tried like setting up all of the shots, and then you add all of the transitions, and then you add like all of the motion graphics. I don't find that works for me as well. I find that I don't know, work better if I do it piece by piece, and then I feel like it's progressing forward, number one. And number two, you do have that opportunity to go back afterwards, and if there's something you want to improve within the whole thing, you can do that later. But I find that, for example, if you set up all the shots to begin with, and then you get into the process of adding stock footage or what have you, you realize, oh, I want to replace that anyways, and then it actually, I think, takes longer that way. So it depends on how you like to work. So for editing, I use InShot for mobile, or I use Filmora or InVideo for desktop. I find Filmora is better if you have a lot of different effects that you want to add to the video. You can do more with it, but InVideo is probably a bit faster. The tool just works more quickly on the computer, and that lets you move through things faster. It also has quite a extensive library of stock footage right embedded within the program, so it's very easy to import it over and then add some different things to it. So I think that there's a lot of value in that those kind of tools. And they're beginner friendly too, so you can produce results fairly quickly, which is the other thing I like about them. And so when I'm editing, the thing I try and think about is retention. How do you change things up every 10 to 20 seconds, either with the use of motion graphics or transitions or putting in some stock footage. Ideally, try and find stock footage that matches the you know your content, and that's why increasingly I like to try and shoot more of my own stock footage, or it's something I'm going to do more in the future. But the other thing about stock footage is just being careful about what company that you're using if you are getting stock footage. So, for example, some of the free stock footage sites, there's so many people uploading footage there. You can't always be sure if it's their footage, and that's why I like using more of a paid tool like Storyblocks, because you know with Storyblocks it's pretty much guaranteed that anything that they have is going to be copyright or not going to run into the copyright issues. And if you do, there's a process whereby they'll, you know, you have some support in the sense that you could show them the license from, you can show YouTube the license from Storyblocks and prove that you did have the, the rights to post that stock footage. So you want to do what you can in that respect to avoid any kind of copyright strikes, because those really hurt your channel. And then last couple of columns here, captions and description. I find, again, the captions for the video, you want to work through those. For longer videos, those sometimes take time, but it's an important feature to work through for accessibility of your videos. It can help them reach a wider audience. And also, of course, with mobile, most users will watch with the sound off. So if you don't have captions, they're more likely to just flip to the next video, find one with captions that they can watch comfortably with the sound off. So that's an important reason to keep captions in your video. And then for your podcast, having captions or a transcript is useful for the page CEO. If you have your own podcast page, you publish the transcripts. All of those transcripts containing all of those keywords get imported over into your podcast page. So that makes it helpful for search engine optimization of your podcast website. Another good reason for doing it. And the tool I use for that is called Descript. And no tool is going to be perfect in terms of how the captions come out through the process of when it's being recorded or transcribed. So you do have to go back and make those tweaks, and that's why I've kind of added this column here, so you remember to do that. And then the description is another one of those things that gets left to the very end, right before we're ready to post our video. We start thinking about, oh yeah, what description am I going to add for the video? And I think that's a missed opportunity. So it's a good thing to work on a little sooner, or start thinking about a little sooner, because your description is a great way to create search engine optimization for your videos. Longer descriptions, make sure you add things like chapter titles, make sure you've got keywords in there that relate to the video, add hashtags for the video, all of that can continue to improve the quality of the description, help your video get found, and really just help your channel overall. So then you've got that all ready. You've written a description. You've optimized it for SEO. You've published the video, but your job here still isn't done as a creator, and that's why the template goes on. And I think this is actually a very important part of the template here. Is the second part, is to think about, you've invested all of this effort in creating your YouTube video. What are you going to do to help promote it? And so when I get to this point, I've got it set up so you click publish, and that'll immediately take the idea down to the bottom of the page. And so now you can scroll down, and see all of these videos that you've created and that have been published, and now they're sorted separately so you don't get them mixed in with the ones you're working on. Where have you promoted them? And so for the ones I have here, I've got some examples where I've reposted them to Instagram, reposted a few to TikTok, and now I know, okay, if I don't want to miss the opportunity to get those out wider, I should consider that. I added a column for threads now that that's out there. And then with Twitter and community posts, I've set it up as a numeric system because you probably could do, more than one tweet pertaining to your video or more than one community post. So here's one where I did a couple, for example. And then you can think about, is this video, can I create it as a blog post? Can I make it into an Instagram carousel? Can I promote it to Pinterest? So all of those are options. And I find it helpful to track this within the template because what I was finding happening was that I'd create the videos and then I'd immediately move on to working on the next video, and it kind of only half-heartedly promote the ones that I'd created because I'm too busy creating new stuff, right? And this is a good reminder to go back, and you can see I still have some work to do here in terms of the promotions and repurposing, but I'm getting a little better with it. And I mean, there's really no reason not to. And I used to be of the mind that one of the reasons I was slower at repurposing was I was of the mind that you wanted to mix things up on different channels, different platforms, so that people weren't seeing the same thing all the time. And since I was doing, I did 2 of my podcast episodes with other creators where they changed my mind about that. And so if you go back and see the episode with Megan Gersh or Charles Tumiato, we talk about that, and they both really convinced me that you should just repost everything everywhere at the time when you produce it, or do it as much as you can, because you realistically have different audiences on different platforms, and just systematically, it's easier to manage that way. I think that's where it falls off sometimes, where you say, well, I'm going to repost that somewhere else later, but you will forget about it, even with the template. So think about how you can, repurpose it to the maximum places at the time when you produce it, and then move on to the next piece. And, if let's say you miss out on threads, the template's still helpful here. You can, if you're stuck for some content one day, go back to the template and consult it for where you might have a missed opportunity, and then that can be an easy content idea. The other thing I will say here with repurposing is it's probably helpful to get some kind of repurposing tool, some kind of single interface, because just like you've got a single interface here with this template to track everything, it's nice to have a single template to interact with the different platforms. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I've heard of Metricool, and I think it might be one that I'm going to be looking at in the next few weeks, as that kind of single platform to integrate all of your content and put it out on different platforms without having to really switch between them. The other nice thing I heard about Metricool is that you can manage comments in one place. So, for example, if you have a piece of content you put out to like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all the comments will be fed back to that platform, and you can that you're getting, and you can reply in the one place, which is really, I think, helpful. And so I hope you found this helpful. I'm gonna pause there and see if there are any questions. Hello, Eileen. Thanks for joining, and thanks that the YouTube captions are great. I appreciate that. And yeah, I found that having the time to think through things and work on multiple pieces at once has been really helpful. And so but to do that, I think you need a tool like this where you can actually track things that you're producing, and then you can keep kind of iterating on them, keep working on them, and that also helps with the consistency. And as checking things off as you're doing them is helpful too. As I was saying, like if you're able to go into your videos and as you're filming, say again, you got 25, you got 50% done, you keep that forward momentum going. You also have a top level view of where different things are at. So like I was saying earlier, you've got some that are quick to produce and some that are longer. For the longer ones, you have a sense of where you're at, and so that if you want to bring that to a conclusion on a certain timetable, you know what you need to do. And that for me is important with the podcast episodes, because I'm trying to be consistent in doing one of those every 3 or 4 weeks. So, but those ones take, multiple sessions to complete, and have to know where they're at in order to be able to complete them. The alternative is, again, you try and do each video from end to end. And so you drop everything to work on the one. And then you're kind of like, in terms of your content flow, you kind of disappear from the platform for 2 or 3 weeks while you're doing this bigger piece. And then all of a sudden you reappear, do a bunch of shorter ones. And it's just not ideal. It's not optimal. So that's part of the, I guess, the challenge the tool like this is designed to solve. And it is free. If you go to my freebies on the web link and you go to Gumroad, it'll ask you for a dollar amount, but you can enter zero and just download it for free. And I created it, frankly, for myself to help me with video production, but I thought it would be helpful to other creators. And so I just put it out there, and I hope you find it helpful as well. And if you did, really appreciate the time you spent with me today. Appreciate if you leave a like or any comments, and subscribe to the channel for more. And thanks very much for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a great day for the rest of your Monday. Thanks, everyone.